Do you find the homeless people that live in your town scary and disgusting? Don't check with others to see if that's hateful nonsense. Everyone hates people who can't afford a house or need a substance to make it through a freezing cold night. Unless, of course, you've actually felt this pain for yourself, or maybe someone taught you about empathy when you were young. We always hear, like, treat others as you'd want to be treated, but if someone doesn't teach you specifically how to implement that, you didn't get your lesson in empathy. Someone has to teach you like why and how to be empathetic. When we see someone that's homeless in our community, like you probably feel some sense of like sadness or guilt, and that's actually good because that's your empathy and your humanity, like telling you that something is seriously wrong. No one, no one wants to live on the street addicted to drugs. It's horrible. It's like a statistically shorter life than you or I will ever live. And it's like people treat you horribly constantly. Like it completely destroys your sense of self-worth. And we should want more for our fellow humans. Like they want more for themselves too. And it's the least we could do. They also show unwavering support for the police, and, like create fears about drugs and violent crime that usually isn't really there. And if it is something that is there, they're completely leaving out context for why anyone is committing crimes, like violent crime or like stealing. But the reason people can't live in homes is because homes are completely unaffordable. But what I mean by like sanitizing, I guess I'll give a more specific example. Think of like the East Palestine train derailment. I almost never hear the media talking about it, and when they do, it's under a completely like false context, where of course the company that is completely to blame is not brought up, Norfolk Southern. If they had been more strictly regulated and like forced to adhere to the regulations, then like several towns would have less cancer-causing agents in their system, and like in their homes, getting like poisoned again and again. It's much worse than you probably heard. We should be thinking about these townspeople all the time because they're going through hell, but instead we're fed like a sanitized, cleaned up version so that people can keep going about their day and think, oh, that place is safe, those people are okay. That's not true. How many trains, was it one train or was it 5 trains that were burned? Was it an open burn? Was it controlled? The truth is grim. Many residents are already sick and they're being ignored. When we ingest a watered down narrative, it corrupts our process, like our thoughts throughout the day. Like when we walk by a homeless person, like you think, despite what you want to think, you already have some programming that tells you something. Watching news that provides an accurate account of events might make you feel sad or angry, and that's how it makes me feel too. But it brings us just a little closer to solidarity with our fellow humans. Your local news, CBS, MSNBC, NPR, they have no interest in solidarity. The system loves your rugged American values to keep you from understanding the world. The system loves austerity to keep people from understanding the economics of pretty much any situation. Stock buybacks, Wall Street crashes. The capitalists' motives are always misconstrued, purposefully. They are on an endless search for profit and nothing more. When someone tells you something different, they're either ignorant or they're lying. And this goes from Elon Musk to the small business tyrant that you probably work for. They tell us our mayor is beautifying the city when they're really making homelessness a crime, conducting sweeps and harassing people that are already in vulnerable positions, already suffering. I think everyone needs to be more aware about like the media they're consuming, the news, and like what specific narrative are the capitalists trying to implant on you. What does a capitalist want you to think when you see someone doing fentanyl on the street? News media runs like essentially what is public relations for capitalism. Let's talk about something we all love, the Earth. If we don't stop increasing our CO2 emissions, the Earth is going to be destroyed. This is constantly ignored, or, like, at the very least, it's made to seem like it's not as big of a problem as it definitely is. We're told that if we make small systemic changes, like avoiding single-use plastics, that's somehow going to reverse, or like, it's not going to do anything. Um, this is a complete fabrication, and it really only seeks to, draw out the time that capitalists can squeeze the planet dry. Some problems require immediate attention, and if that initial like shock of people, noticing something, if that can be slowed at all, the resistance is essentially too thin to even matter. Some aspects of the climate apocalypse are already here. Like even in the United States, people can tell. It's horrifying. It's in plain sight, and people should be like angry. Your kids are not going to grow up on the planet that you imagined for them. The air will be too toxic, and the water will be too polluted, and the corporations will grow even more bold while they continue to exploit, and that's going to affect everyone, like, even if it doesn't necessarily affect you right now. Fires, droughts, famine, essentially things that other places have dealt with for many, many years, because of capitalism already. All these first world countries are really gonna notice. We need to stop believing that rich politicians and CEOs will come to our rescue and start forcing them to come to our demands. Billionaires, share or else. We don't need to raise taxes on the poor. Make the rich pay with the money that they stole and give the land back too. Got a little upset there. I really hate the news.